Is Born Roma Extradose actually one of the best in the Valentino Uomo line? And did I rank it in the wrong way when I did my Valentino Uomo comparison? And have I changed my mind about it after having it for almost a year? And is it super similar to the epic compliment get Born Roma Intense and the original Born Roma? And is it as good as these two? Quite a few of you really disagreed with me on how I ranked Extradose. It's almost a year since I concluded my first impression of Born Roma Extradose by saying that it smelled good for sure, but that it lacked something, especially in the dry down. I've used it quite a bit since, and it's time for my final review of Born Roma Extradose, and I'm gonna go through what it smells like, if it's similar to other fragrances, the performance, usage, compliments and mass appeal and more. If you like the Valentino line and been thinking about Extradose, then this is definitely the video for you. So before I begin, I highly recommend to check out my full Valentino Uomo comparison and ranking video. I'm gonna link to that video somewhere up here and in the description below. So I bought this when it was brand new and I paid about 125 bucks for 50 ml. Nowadays you can find it for a bit less than that. And this is the bottle, and as you can see is pretty much identical to the other ones. So let's go through what it smells like before I go through any sort of similarities and differences if I compare it to some of the other ones in the line. You probably know this if you're a subscriber, and if you're not yet a subscriber, then what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe and please drop a like on this video. Thank you, I really do appreciate it. I absolutely love the scent of lavender. And Born Roma Extradose right away in the opening, as soon as you spray it on, opens up with a gorgeous dose of lavender. So you get this really nice dose of aromatic freshness and brightness right away in the opening, but I do feel there's more to that initial dose of freshness, and there's definitely, at least to my nose, a spicy fresh kick in the opening. So Born Roma Extradose opens up in an aromatic and spicy fresh way. And come on, that opening, all thanks to the lavender, is gorgeous. And the more Born Roma Extradose moves away from the opening and into the heart of it, the more I feel that initial dose of aromatic freshness and spiciness starts to sort of sink in and develop, and the whole thing becomes more intense. But at the same time, it also feels like the entire scent becomes sort of a rounder, fuller, and that freshness gets more nuanced. And to my nose, I do feel that the freshness of it, the aromatic freshness of it, the spicy freshness of it, smells even better at the heart of it. And it's also at this point where a soft kind of woodiness starts to come in, bringing the whole thing a bit of woody warmth. And I'm not sure I picked up on this when I did my initial first impressions, but there's definitely a bit of sweetness to Born Roma Extradose. I do not feel it's as sweet as, let's say, Born Roma Intense, and it has a different kind of sweetness if you compare it to the original, but there's definitely a sweet side to this at the heart of it. So the heart of Born Roma Extradose is basically a combination of spicy and aromatic freshness. You still have a gorgeous dose of lavender together with a bit of soft woodiness, and it's also a bit sweet. So I'm going to get to the drawdown in a short while, but this is where I feel Born Roma Extradose starts to remind me a bit of previous releases. The lavender in Born Roma Extradose definitely gives me intense Born Roma Intense vibes. I do love that lavender in Born Roma Intense, and I do enjoy it in here as well. But that part definitely feels super similar. And this is where I feel Born Roma Extradose is almost like a mix of the original with a twist to its freshness and sweetness, and Born Roma Intense without its vanilla, and it's mostly about lavender and woodiness. And when it comes to similarities to the others in the line, I do feel that it's mostly similar to Born Roma Intense, but without the vanilla, and it definitely has something a bit similar to the OG. The dry down is where that lavender finally starts to soften up. The lavender is definitely still prominent, but I do feel it has softened up at least a little bit. The woodiness of it is a bit more noticeable in the dry down, but I do feel it's a soft kind of woodiness. There's a really nice, almost sort of an ambery warmth and shine, like a hint of something like that in the dry down as well, and I would have loved for that part to have been even more intense. The sweetness feels a bit amped up in the dry down, so basically what you're getting with the Born Roma Extradose is an intense dose of lavender and spices in the opening, so a bit of aromatic and spicy freshness in the opening. The more it moves into the dry down, the more woody the whole thing gets, and basically the dry down, at least to my nose, is a combination of lavender and soft woodiness together with a bit of sweetness, and you got this really nice, even though it's super soft, hint of a sort of an amber water shine. So before we move on to compliments of mass appeal, performance and more, I do want to say that Born in Roma Extradose together with the original Born in Roma and Rockstar Noir are among those in the line I feel are great for everyday use to use on any occasion. So if you own any of these three, know that they are great for everyday use. When it comes to compliments and mass appeal, Born in Roma Extradose is definitely a compliment getting kind of scent. That gorgeous dose of lavender is so likable and so mass appealing, and basically when this thing hits the dry down, you're getting a bit of soft woodiness and a bit of sweetness, making it even more likable. Most people will most definitely enjoy getting a whiff of Extradose. When it comes to the performance of Born in Roma Extradose, I'm rating the performance of it around 6.5 for both projection and longevity. And on my skin, Born in Roma Extradose is among the highest performing in the line. So it's pretty much Extradose and Core Fantasy that are two of the best performing ones in the line. I know some of you are getting beast mode performance from Born in Roma Extradose, but I do not feel this is a beast mode-like kind of performing fragrance. When it comes to the vibe of Born in Roma Extradose, I do feel that that initial dose of aromatic and spicy freshness together with the sweetness of it pulls this in a direction where I feel it's quite sort of a playful and sexy. So here are my thoughts on usage, so like seasons and occasions. Like I previously mentioned, I do feel that Born in Roma Extradose together with the original and Rockstar Noir are among those in the line that are absolutely perfect for everyday use on any occasion. Date nights, work or school, or when you're going out, really doesn't matter. Extradose definitely works on any occasion. When it comes to seasons, I know some feel Born in Roma Extradose is pretty much reserved for like fall and winter, but I absolutely do not agree with that. This is basically a combination of fresh lavender, so aromatic freshness with spicy freshness on top of a bit of soft woodiness together with a bit of sweetness. I do not feel Born in Roma Extradose is a scent that is super deep, super heavy, overly sweet or overly warm. So I think you can wear Born in Roma Extradose throughout the year. That's basically how I used it. It smells as good on warm summer nights as it does on like a colder fall day. So who is Born in Roma Extradose for? This is actually quite simple. If you absolutely love the scent of lavender, then you'll most likely enjoy this, because this, at least to my nose, is mostly about a prominent dose of lavender together with a bit of soft woodiness. If you don't like lavender, then definitely stay away. I feel most will enjoy its soft woodiness. However, this can be a bit too sweet to some. So if you're absolutely allergic to any kind of sweetness, then it's probably best to stay away. And if you absolutely love the lavender in Born in Roma Intense and think you would enjoy a scent without the vanilla that you can find in Born in Roma Intense and with a different kind of sweetness, then you most likely enjoy Extradose. So let's quickly go through some of the alternatives, and obviously the main alternative is going to be Born in Roma Intense. Extradose, sort of simplified, is like Born in Roma Intense without the intense vanilla and with a different kind of sweetness. If you love lavender and vanilla, then Born in Roma Intense is a gorgeous combination of that. Born in Roma Intense is my second most favorite in the line. The next alternative is of course the OG Born in Roma, and the OG Born in Roma to my nose is basically a mix of freshness in the opening and a more woody dry down. The whole thing has this bubble gummish kind of sweetness to it in the dry down that I feel is sort of balanced out by a salty touch. It smells really nice, and the OG is definitely an easy to like kind of scent. Moving into an alternative that also puts focus on a combination of lavender and woodiness. This is the OG Rafts Club, and it's basically a mix of lavender and woodiness. The woodiness of it is a bit different if you compare it to this. It's definitely nowhere near as sweet as Born in Roma Extradose, and the aromatic side of it is a bit different. Rafts Club smells really good though. I do feel this is a great choice as an everyday kind of fragrance, and I do feel it's for someone who absolutely loves lavender together with a bit of woodiness, and for someone who doesn't want the sweetness that this one has. Another alternative that also focuses on the combination of aromatic freshness and woodiness is what I think the fantastic White Eau de Parfum Intense. And I do feel White Eau de Parfum Intense in a way has a more intense and nuanced aromatic side to it, and it's definitely a more classy, elegant and more smooth and also less sweet alternative. And going back to Born in Roma Intense as an alternative, this is basically sort of a a mix of Born Roma Intense together with a bit of Azzaro the Most Wanted Eau Parfum and Carolina Herrera Bad Boy Extreme. So if you think you like a combination of those three, then definitely make sure you check out Assad Bourbon from Lattafa. These two are definitely not the same though, but I do feel if you are thinking about Born Roma Intense as an alternative, then this might be an alternative. So do I think Born Roma Extradose is one of the best in the Valentino Uomo line? Have I changed my mind about it after having putting this kind of dent to it? And how am I going to rate it from 1 to 10? So here's what I think. The opening, absolutely gorgeous. I mean, I love the scent of lavender. The heart of it smells even better because I do feel that's when the lavender together with the spicy freshness of it starts to get even sort of a fuller, rounder and a bit more sort of a nuance. So the heart of Born Roma Extradose is also a gorgeous experience to wear. My biggest issue though is still the dry down. I do appreciate the dry down more now than ever before. But here's the thing. Once Born Roma Extradose goes into the dry down, I do feel that's when the whole thing starts to get a bit sort of a flat. When it starts to lose the potency, that intense lavender, when that lavender starts to get a bit too sort of a soft in the dry down, I do feel it starts to not get boring, but also less interesting. If there would have been more punch to the drawdown, something in the drawdown to cut through a bit more, even if it would have been just a bit more sort of a noticeable and a bit more sort of personality to its woodiness, I would have rated and enjoyed this a lot more. I still absolutely love that gorgeous dose of lavender, but I do feel what you're mostly paying for and getting with Born Roma Extradose is lavender. And for that, you got plenty of other alternative that basically does lavender, but in ways I feel have a bit more personality. Born Roma Extradose sure smells good, but I do feel it's a bit similar to previous releases. But with that said, I am going to give this mostly lavender focused scent at least 7, something around 7. I do feel it deserves at least that. And to get back to the question I posed in the beginning of this video, is Born Roma Extradose the best in the line? No, I still do not feel it's the best in line. This thing right here is still king. So in a way, I sort of changed my mind about it, at least a little bit, but not by much. So this is what I want to hear from you. How do you feel about Born Roma Extradose? Are you team this is the best in the line, or do you feel a bit like me, that it smells good but that it's not the best in the line? Let me know how you feel about it and how you would rate Born Roma Extradose from 1 to 10. Please drop a like on this video. Thank you, I really do appreciate it. Make sure you hit that subscribe and make sure you check out my full Valentino Uomo comparison over there.